What's up guys? Omnisynsei here, back with a new what if video. What if I transmigrated as Sasuke Uchiha before Momoshiki attack, becoming the new Shadow Hokage? Sasuke Uchiha is a complex character who undergoes a dramatic transformation from a loyal and compassionate ninja of Konohagakure to a vengeful and power-hungry rogue who seeks to destroy his former village, and finally to a redeemed and repentant ally who helps save the world from a greater threat. By the beginning of Boruto, Sasuke is the Shadow Hokage, performing dangerous S-class missions and looking for information about the parasitic Otsutsuki clan. So, what if I became this Sasuke? How would I influence the Boruto storyline? To find out, join me as we explore this amazing what if. Omnisynsei signing in. Sasuke/MC, Pov. Wait, what? How am I in some sort of a desert? Didn't I die? I thought. Suddenly I got a rush of memories, and because of the pain I fell to the ground because of the pain from getting all the memories at once. I got memories from my birth till now, so I watched my whole life in a second. I had watched all the good times I had with my brother and parents. I had got the memories of my brother slaughtering the clan. I had seen me devoting my life to kill Itachi. I had seen the grief I felt after I found out the truth about my brother. I had seen me trying to start a revolution to make a new world. I had also seen memories of going on my redemption journey. I also had memories of finally being happy when I had a daughter. So I am Sasuke Uchiha. I thought even though I am not actually him, it's like our souls merged when I got to this world, and now, because of that, I have an emotional connection with all the people he did. Since I got his memories, I knew how to use all his jutsus too. He had obviously mastered all the Rinnegan jutsus, and had learnt to combine different elements up to a certain degree, and because of this Sasuke could use a weaker version of Ice Release. Sasuke was definitely very strong, maybe even stronger than Naruto if he fought to his fullest. But the problem was his chakra. It was not like his reserves were not big or anything. The problem was that he could not deactivate the Rinnegan and took a lot of chakra to keep it active. But when he first got the Rinnegan, he could deactivate it during the Kagaya and Madara fight. But he chose not to since he didn't want to get caught off guard. But after he lost his hand after fighting Naruto, he could not deactivate his Rinnegan. He thought it might have something to do with his hand, but choose not to get it back. I could use all 7 natures, and could use wood style too, but again he chose not to, since it simply uses up too much chakra and it just didn't match his fighting style. From my memories I could tell Sarada was currently about 10.5 years old, so there is about a year before the Momoshiki attack. That won't be a problem. I'm pretty sure I'm already strong enough to beat Momoshiki, and even if I can't do it alone with Naruto I should be able to. But Jigen and Isuki will be a problem, and I have no interest for me to lose my Rinnegan either. So I need to get much more stronger within this 1 year. I needed to get stronger to survive in the future. There were things like Sage Mode that came to my mind, but I decided to put off that for now. I knew I was strong as hell right now, but I could get a lot stronger. It will be more helpful for me to increase stuff like my strength and speed and my chakra rather than rely on stuff like Sage Mode mainly. Also because my fighting style is different than Naruto's. I also need to decide on what to do with my arms. I could either get a new Hashirama Cell's arm, or just make one with my Rinnegan right now. Since I got Sasuke's memories, I know the coordinates to the dimension where Kagaya's palace is. I also got the coordinates of many other dimensions which he was investigating, and he was going to investigate Kagaya's palace the last. But I already know that is where I will find something important, so I can use the next few months to train and get stronger. And then I can go back to the village for a while, and then later investigate Kagaya's palace after deciding what to do with my arm. It had been a few months since I had taken over Sasuke Uchiha's body, and for the last few months, I have been training to limit to make sure I am ready for the upcoming threats. For the past few months I have been training in another dimension. After I made sure I had carried enough food to last me a few months so that I won't have to keep switching dimensions to get food, especially since using the transportation technique uses a shit ton of chakra. I have refined my abilities as much as I could, and although my chakra reserves have been increasing since I keep training, it's still not as much as Naruto's. But I can say my chakra reserves are somewhat near Naruto's own, if Kurama's chakra is not taken into consideration. But since I can't deactivate my Rinnegan, it keeps eating up my chakra, and the Rinnegan techniques use a hell a lot of chakra, and that was the main problem for me. I knew my reserves can't match Naruto's if I don't get an outside source of chakra, and because of that I went for another approach and focused on improving my chakra control, which would mean I would need to use less chakra while using a jutsu. I had made up my mind to return to Konoha today, but I was still nervous, mainly because although I have taken over Sasuke's body, not exactly him, and Sasuke was not one to socialize with people, and I didn't exactly know how to interact with any of them, especially my daughter, so I was a bit nervous to have to return. I obviously couldn't just go back empty-handed, so I just made up a fake scroll, in which I wrote contents of the scroll myself, but in English. I basically wrote stuff about the requirements for making a chakra fruit, and how the Otsutsuki travel in pairs to achieve this. I didn't want to give out too much information in one scroll, so I decided to give them this much information to let them know that there is a chance there might be another Otsutsuki in our world. I also made sure to write it in English, since no one in this world knew English, so I decided to just say something like I can decipher it through my Rinnegan or something like that. The reason I had to bring some information is mainly because I'm still on probation, and that is also because the original Sasuke wanted to atone for his so-called mistakes. I was only supposed to be under probation for the first 3 years, and after that I was told I can take back all my inheritance in the lands of the Uchiha clan and live as a free citizen, and that was the condition Kakashi got me out of prison under, and the Reikage, Mizukage and the Kazekage all agreed to it eventually since they saw how much I had helped after I got out of prison. It was just that Tsuchikage who was against it, so I decided after I go back I will decide to take back my titles and lands and get out of this so-called probation. I finally collected all my things and made a portal just above Naruto's Hokage rock. I was finally in the village after a long time, but I didn't want to waste any time, so I started going towards the Hokage tower to give him the scroll, and then go back home. After I entered the Hokage's office I was a bit caught off guards, mainly since the one sitting on the Hokage chair was Shikamaru and not the 7th Hokage himself. As Shikamaru saw me walk in he was a bit shocked, but quickly recovered and said, "Sasuke, is that you?" I calmly replied yes. "Where is the idiot? Shouldn't he be sitting on the chair drowning himself in paperwork rather than you?" Shikamaru sighed and replied, "Well yes, it should be him, but something important came up, and he decided to go investigate it himself. Since we weren't able to contact you for several months, where were you anyway?" I found a major break though in my investigation in the last few months, so spent the whole time in a different dimension. I haven't been in this dimension for the past few months, I said. Shikamaru was again shocked at this, since he was one of the few people who knew what I was investigating about. So he said, "A major breakthrough? You mean you found something important related about the Otsutsukis?" I nodded and threw the scroll at him, and as he read it, his reaction was as I had imagined. He didn't understand anything, so I said, "Don't bother, you can't understand anything, it's in another language, I believe, I can understand what it says when I see it with my Rinnegan, but if I close my left eye and read it even I can't understand anything. I feel this is because the Rinnegan is originally from the Otsutsuki clan, and this is probably the language they use, so that's probably why I can read it." "I see, that makes sense. So what does the scroll say then?" he asked, looking at me. "It's a rather important thing, so it'll tell you when Naruto comes. You said he is investigating something important, and you tried contacting me. What has happened?" I said, "When a few shinobis were doing their usual patrols, they saw some kid with a Sharingan following and spying on your daughter from a distance, but he wasn't getting close to her, he kept at a distance, and the shinobi reported this to me and Naruto, and we tried contacting you, but we could not." I was obviously not expecting this, so I was a bit shocked. "Is Sarada alright?" I asked. "Yes, she is fine. We had proof that the guy following Sarada had a Mangekyo Sharingan, and he was spotted in the border of the land of fire, so Naruto didn't want anyone but you or him to take that guy on since he has a Mangekyo. So he has gone there to deal with him himself since we were not able to contact you," Shikamaru said. After concentrating for a few seconds, I could pinpoint Naruto's chakra to still be in the land of fire somewhere near the border, and to my shock I also found a lot more chakra signatures next to him, and I instantly recognized that one of the chakra signature was Sakura, and there was another chakra signature next to her, which was very similar to Sakura's and my own. Because of the similarities of that chakra signature to mine and Sakura's, I instantly realized that it was Sarada's chakra signature, and the rest of the chakra signatures were all pretty much the same, and they felt a lot like the chakra of an Uchiha. so I figured out that the rest of those chakra signatures were most likely Shin Uchiha and his clones. Sasuke was able to track Naruto's chakra when Momoshiki literally took him to another dimension, so I'm pretty sure he will be able to sense Naruto's chakra even though he is pretty far. Why the hell is Sarada with him? I asked. You were able to sense his chakra all the way from here? Shikamaru asked me in shock. Yes, now answer the damn question, I said. Well, Boruto brought Naruto's lunch, but Naruto had already left, so Sarada offered to take it to him. I should have known sending her with him was a bad idea. Shikamaru said. I simply turned around and used my Rinnegan and opened a portal. Just as I was about to step in, Shikamaru said, where are you going? Off this quickly. To go help the idiot, he is fighting about 100 people right now, I said, and got into the portal. I didn't make the portal right in front of them, but a few meters away, so that I could first assess the situation. What I saw completely shocked me. The whole battlefield was covered with Susanu's, and Naruto was already KCM, and Sakura was helping him out too. It was rather obvious to me that both of them were playing defense, and mainly protecting Sarada, and Naruto was trying to find a way to settle this without having to kill all these clones. The clones of Shin Uchiha all had a humanoid Susanoo without any legs, while the real Shin Uchiha had a humanoid Susanoo with legs and was able to move around. By the way Naruto was fighting, I could easily tell he was rusty, and was not at his best right now, since he hasn't had to fight in a very long time since this is a time of peace. The clones had now started spamming Yasaka beads towards Sarada, since all of them realized that Naruto and Sakura were mainly focused on protecting Sarada rather than beating them. Naruto and Sakura were instantly getting overwhelmed because of the Yasaka beads, and they were just about to hit Sarada. Naruto realized he wouldn't make it in time, and Sakura couldn't really do anything to protect Sarada against something like Yasaka beads, so she shielded her with her body. Luckily they were fighting in the open and not in Shin Uchiha's hideout, and there were stones all across the battlefield, and there were a few right next to where Sakura and Sarada were, so I used my Amenete Jakara and swapped places with one of the stones, and now I was in front of Sakura and Sarada. The Yasaka beads were just about to hit, but I simply held my hand out and activated my Rinnegan chakra absorption ability, and as soon as the Yasaka beads neared me I absorbed its chakra. The jutsu was ineffective. Sakura and Sarada waited for the impact, but it never came, so Sakura turned around and saw my cloak, and instantly realized what had happened. I turned around and looked at them, said, you both alright? Sakura nodded to answer, but as soon as I saw Sarada I saw tears in her eyes, and her Sharingan had finally awakened. But to my surprise, she awakened her Sharingan with 2 tomos. Before I could say anything to Sarada, I heard a voice say, Uchiha Sasuke, you're finally here, good. After I kill you and take your eyes, no one will be able to stop me from reforming the Akatsuki and continuing Itachi's will. I then looked towards Naruto and saw that he was relieved that I got here in time to able to save Sarada and Sakura. He quickly came and stood next to me, but kept his KCM on. I'm assuming you want to finish this without too much trouble. I said, yes, I'm pretty sure we both should be able to settle this by just scaring them a bit. I don't want to harm those clones of his, Naruto said. Fine, I said. I had the perfect plan to make this happen, and also wanted to test out one of the Rinnegan abilities I mastered in these few months, which Sasuke didn't already know. I made a one-handed ram sign and activated my humanoid Susanoo. Both Naruto and Sakura realized I was using a technique that required a decent amount of chakra, since I flared my chakra up a bit before using the technique. After a few seconds Naruto looked up to the sky, since he was the first one to realize what I had done, since he still had his KCM and Sage mode active, and then everyone saw the clouds clear and a meteorite dropping from the sky. Everyone except me and Naruto looked up in shock. Even though people were told Madara summoned a meteorite in the war, no one believed it, since the only people who ever lived to tell that story were Naruto and the cage. But now, after seeing me do it, all of them were shocked. I looked at Shin and said, that's a meteorite I summoned using my Rinnegan. Obviously, since I summoned it, I can very much desummon it, but I will only do so if you all deactivate your Susanoo and surrender. And I am warning you right now, your Susanoo's at that stage won't exactly protect you against something like this. All the Shin Uchihas were stunned seeing the meteorite, and none of them moved. The original Shin said, there is no way you will survive it either. As he said this, both me and Naruto simply chuckled, and he made an avatar of Kurama with his chakra, and I activated my perfect Susanoo, and this was enough to scare the rest of them, as they all instantly deactivated their Susanoos and dropped their weapons and surrendered, and I desummoned the meteorite. After me and Naruto deactivated our Susanoo and chakra avatar, he looked at me and said, that was way too reckless, you know. What would you have done if they didn't surrender? I would have summoned it and used my Chidori Senbon to knock them out. They wouldn't have been able to react in time as they were too stunned, I said. After the incident with Shin Uchiha, we finally went back to the Leaf Village. I did talk to Sarada after the incident with Shin, but I was not really the greatest dad, so I kept the conversation short and just tried to know her, which worked. I was now currently walking towards the Hokage's office to give my report about my investigation. I had already told Naruto to gather people like Shikamaru and Kakashi and send out all the others from his office, so that only the important people know this news. As I entered the room, I saw Naruto, Shikamaru, Kakashi and Tsunade waiting inside. What is the reason for which you summoned all of us? I could have been chilling in some hot spring or in some park reading my books, Kakashi said to me as soon as I entered. Well, as you all know, I have been investigating the Otsutsukis for a long time, and recently I have found something pretty interesting and I feel it's better if you guys know, I said, and threw the scroll which I had written to Naruto. As he opened the scroll, he didn't understand anything, and he passed it to the rest, and none of them understood anything either. Shikamaru then looked at me and said, "You said you will explain what was there in the scroll." Yes, the scroll states about how a divine tree is created, and the requirements for the divine tree to bloom, and also states how many Otsutsukis were sent to each planets. And it turns out that Kaguya wasn't the only one who came to the Earth. She was accompanied by another person. They didn't state names, but it said they sent 2 people were sent to our planet. There is also information about some technique called karma in the scroll. This technique apparently allows the Otsutsuki to plant some sort of curse mark on people, and eventually using this they will take over the person's body and be reborn. I said all of them were clearly shocked by the information. Do you think there is a chance that this other Otsutsuki is still alive by using this karma? Shikamaru asked. I nodded and continued, there is still a few more things that you need to know. The conditions necessary for a divine tree to bloom is that an Otsutsuki is fed to the 10 tails. Kakashi then interrupted by saying, is it possible that the other Otsutsuki was the one who was fed to the 10 tails, but he placed this karma on someone so that he could be reborn later on? I nodded and looked at Naruto and said, I may have found out why Kaguya was building an army from what I have been able to find out. I can tell that the Otsutsukis also operate similar to the Hyuga clan. They also have a main family and a branch family, and apparently, the chakra fruit is only meant for the main family, and the branch family are not supposed to consume the chakra fruit, and by th dash. But how does this relate to why Kaguya was building an army? Naruto asked, confused. Shikamaru, Kakashi and Tsunade simply stayed quiet, knowing I wasn't finished, and was still explaining my theory. I looked at Naruto a bit annoyed that I kept getting interrupted. You remember when we met Hagoromo, he said Kaguya wasn't all that strong before eating the chakra fruit. Naruto nodded and said, she was most likely a branch family member, and since the chakra fruit is only meant for the main branch, she feared that they may kill her. Yes, the scroll also stated that the teams sent to get the chakra fruit should return within a certain time limit, and if they do not, the main family will send a backup team to check what is going on. And I believe Kaguya knew that other Otsutsukis will eventually come looking for her, and that's the reason she was building an army. I said, did the scroll mention about when they will come looking for her? Shikamaru asked. No, there is nothing in the scroll that mentions when they will come, I said. I then looked at Tsunade and said, that offer you made me after the war, if it still stands, I will gladly take it. Alright, but I will need a few days to get the surgery set up, and we will have to run a lot of tests on you to make sure you're fine after the arm transplant. So you will need to stay in the village for at least a month, Tsunade said. I'm fine with that, I replied, since I had already planned to stay for a few months before leaving again just before Sarada's Chunin exams, so that I can find Momoshiki and Kinshiki. It has been about a month since I got back to the village, and I had gotten the Hashirama arm transplanted. It definitely felt weird when I first got it, since Sasuke had lived for many years with only one arm, and pretty much adapted to do everything with one arm. My probation has now finally ended. Well, my probation had pretty much ended 3 years after I had gotten out of jail with the agreement of the 5 Kage, since during these 3 years I had traveled through the world and helped all the other nations, and they did realize that I had changed, so all the Kage expect that Tsuchikage signed off my probation and I could have ended my probation right then. But since I had wanted to atone for my sins, I had not signed it. But now after I got the arm and got back to the village, I did. Since I was no longer in probation, I got all my inheritance back, and am now the richest person alive, since I am the Uchiha clan head. And the Uchiha clan were the wealthiest shinobi clan, and since I'm the head, all the resources of the clan belong to me. I wanted to move back into the Uchiha clan compound, but in the end I decided against it. since we would be fully isolated and just 3 people living in a huge compound will also be very creepy. During this 1 month I also taught Sarada the basics on what her Sharingan can do, and I also started training her, and she was a prodigy, though not in the same league as me or Itachi and Kakashi. I had planned on teaching her the Chidori, but I decided against it, and choose to first improve her to Jutsu, and her chakra reserves was still not that great, and because of this, she would be able to only use about 1 Chidori per day if I did teach her, and wasting all her chakra on 1 technique was definitely not worth it, especially since she still hasn't mastered her Sharingan yet, and if the Chidori is used without the Sharingan it causes tunnel vision, so it was incredibly dangerous to use without mastery over the Sharingan and good reflexes and speed. Where are we going? The training ground is not this way, Sarada said. We aren't going to be going to the normal training grounds right now, I said and kept walking. After a few minutes we arrived near the Uchiha clan compound. What is this place? And why is the Uchiha clan symbol on the wall? Sarada asked. This is the Uchiha clan compound. A few years ago, before a certain event happened, there were about 200 Uchiha clan members alive, and this is where all of them lived, I said and kept walking towards the place where the clan meetings happened. I read in a book that the Uchiha clan was once known as the strongest clan that existed. And one night, due to a tragedy, the whole clan perished. What happened? Sarada asked. I'll tell you some other day, I said and simply kept walking towards the Uchiha clan library. This is the Uchiha clan library. For the next few days I won't be able to train you, since I'm going to investigate a few things on this. Library has everything you will need to train. Obviously don't bring anyone else here and tell no one about this library. If the wrong people get their hands on the jutsus in here it could spell disaster. You're leaving again. You said you will stay until my Chunin exams Atlas. It won't be for long this time. I sense some foul chakra in the outskirts of the village. I will go investigate that. And I have something else I have to take care of. My plan was to first investigate the foul chakra, and then go to Kagaya's dimension. This is around the time Sasuke fought Momoshiki and Kinshiki, so I decided to go fight them. And I also have another arm and I have more chakra than he did, and I'm also all around much stronger. There are training grounds in the south corner of the compound, use that if you want. But before I leave there is something I want to give you. As I said that I went through a few hand signs and a scroll appeared in my hand, except it was a lot bigger than a normal scroll. What scroll is that? I didn't answer her, I instead simply opened the scroll. And in the scroll there were 5 names: Orochimaru, Anko Mitarashi, Kabuto Yakushi, Sasuke Uchiha, Mitsuki. Why are your names in this? Sarada asked confused. This is a summoning contract with the snakes. Orochimaru passed it down to me and his other students. Soon you will be taking part in dangerous missions, or there may be times when I won't be able to help you. But when you sign this contract with the snakes you will be able to summon them, and they will aid you in battle. Or when you're in a situation where you feel you can't win, and you need to retreat, you can use the reverse summoning jutsu, and you will be transported to the realm of the snakes, the Raichi cave. You will need to write your name in this scroll using your blood to make the contract official. Sarada then bit her fingers and quickly wrote her name in the scroll. How do I summon them? She asked, all excited. Let's go to the training ground, I'll show you there. We will need a bit of space to summon a snake. After we reached the training ground, I said to Sarada, alright, before I show you the signs for the summoning jutsu, I will tell you a few important things you need to know before using the jutsu. If you use a very small amount of chakra and use the jutsu, you will most likely summon a messenger snake, and well, they are pretty small and won't be very helpful in combat. If you use a decent amount of chakra, you will most likely summon a medium-sized snake. They will obviously be very helpful in combat. And if you use a large amount of chakra, you will summon one of the biggest snakes, and the signs for the reverse summoning jutsu are the signs of the summoning jutsu itself, but in reverse order. And always remember, for a summoning to work, you must first draw a bit of your own blood before using the hand signs. The hand signs for the jutsu are boar apostrophe dog apostrophe bird apostrophe monkey apostrophe ram. Try it out. As I said that, Sarada bit her fingers and went through the hand signs and used the summoning jutsu and summoned a snake. It was a medium-sized white snake. I simply watched as Sarada talked to the snake and introduced herself as my daughter and a new snake summoner, and after a few seconds the snake disappeared. Very well, I will be back within a few days. In the meantime, you can learn the jutsus in the library, but don't try anything too reckless yet, I said, and left to begin my investigation. I want to go and investigate Kagaya's dimension and hopefully take out Momoshiki and Kinshiki, but there were too many variables in place for that to happen. I knew I can win 2-0-1 against them if I went all out and used everything in my arsenal. But I was also worried about the karma. Getting the karma will obviously give me a power boost. But was it truly worth it? I could do pretty much everything. Momoshiki can only thing is he has a lot more chakra than me. Was it truly worth it to kill him and risk getting karma for such little gain? The answer was simple, it was no. Just as I was about to leave yesterday to get back to my investigation, Naruto had summoned me. He told me that the sensory team found some sort of a foul chakra signature on the edge of the village, and he wanted me to investigate it. I finally arrived at the place Naruto had told me, and now that I'm here, I can also feel the foul chakra in the place. But I knew I had felt this chakra before, I just couldn't remember when or where exactly I had felt this chakra. Going inside the cave, I made sure I was on alert since, even though the chakra wasn't as strong as Naruto's or my own, it was still a lot stronger than what a normal person should have, and that did put me on a little guard. After walking in for a bit, I felt a chakra signature approaching me. The person was hiding his chakra pretty well, and unless I was a very good sensor, I would not have been able to notice the presence of the other person. But I was not the best or second best sensor. Currently alive for no reason, I could still feel the chakra very easily. After a few more seconds, I felt the chakra signature just a few steps in front of me in the corner. So I took out my sword and got ready, but just as I reached the corner, the chakra disappeared. But a few seconds later, I felt the chakra signature right behind me. I quickly turned around and saw who it was, and because of this, I activated my Mangekyou instantly and used Amaterasu. How could I forget that these things still existed? White Zetsu. I can still feel the same chakra around the whole area. After walking for a few seconds, I arrived at the place where I felt the chakra signature of the Zetsus. I was currently on the other side of the wall where the Zetsus currently were. I activated my humanoid Susanoo and destroyed the rock using my Susanoo. As soon as I got inside, I sent a bit more chakra to the Susanoo and it evolved to our armored Susanoo. All the Zetsus in the room instantly noticed my presence and ran towards me to attack me. But I simply used my Susanoo's flame control and lit all of them in black fire instantly. I then concentrated in my sensing abilities and realized that there was one that had escaped and had used the Mayfly technique to hide underground. I wasn't too bothered to chase him since I knew that Team 7 with Konohamaru will eventually come here and take him out, so I simply left the cave and used the summoning jutsu and summoned one of my messenger hawks and wrote a letter to Naruto informing him of my findings and sent it to Naruto. I guess it's finally time to go and take care of the Otsutsukis now. I don't really want to kill Momoshiki myself and take the risk of getting a karma, but I doubt I will be able to seal him with Chibaku Tensei, so I really do not know how to take him out myself without receiving a karma, but getting that scroll is important in order to give proof to the other cage about the existence of the Otsutsuki. I then used my Rinnegan and opened a portal to Kagaya Otsutsuki's dimension. As soon as I entered the portal, I made sure to keep my senses alert and tried to focus on whether I can find Momoshiki or Kinshiki's chakra. I was able to find a chakra of one person. The chakra reserves were huge, bigger than my own and Naruto's. I knew this to be either Momoshiki or Kinshiki. Well, if one of them is here, the other one is also here. One of them are probably suppressing their chakra using one of their Otsutsuki abilities, which makes sure no one other than an Otsutsuki can sense them. I then headed towards the huge castle which I could see, since I knew that is where the scroll is. And I knew one of them would attack me. There, arriving inside, I saw where the scroll was and kept walking towards it. I could also feel a huge chakra signature headed towards me, but the person was still a few seconds away, so I went towards the scroll and picked it up and kept it inside, and just as I did, the person was right next to me and attacked using a red axe. I was easily able to dodge. I stepped a few steps back and looked at the person, and this was Kinshiki Otsutsuki. This guy was very quick, not as quick as myself, but very quick in his own right, and physically he was stronger than me. And he was good with using weapons and had a huge amount of chakra, so the last thing I would want is to face this guy indoors. The guy was going to say something, but before he could, I activated my lightning chakra cloak, which I used to increase my speed, and headed towards the entrance and also followed me. I stopped a few meters away from the entrance, and he stopped right in front of the entrance. Looking above him, I saw Otsutsuki Momoshiki. I couldn't feel his chakra at all. I then looked towards Kinshiki, and he said, "I didn't think anyone other than us could access this place. I am Otsutsuki Kinshiki." Kinshiki quickly rushed at me with a burst of speed. I quickly took out my sword and matched him for every blow. I was faster than him, but he was physically much stronger than me, and he was also good at wielding his axe. After matching each other blow for a few seconds, I used Shinra Tensei on him as soon as he got near me to attack. The force of the jutsu sent him flying back, and as this happened his grip on his axe loosened, and because of this, he was no longer holding his axe, but the force of Shinra Tensei was making the sword also fly back, just as Kinshiki was. As soon as I noticed this, I quickly sent Chidori through my blade, and used a Menetejakara on the axe, and I was right next to Kinshiki. He instantly sensed my presence next to him, but he could do nothing but watch as I sent my sword through his right arm, cutting it off his body. Kinshiki landed on the floor after I cut off his arm, and I landed a few steps away from him. Ha ha ha, how careless, Kinshiki, letting a mortal cut your arms off, Momoshiki said from where he was standing. A few seconds after her said that, Kinshiki stood up and his arm instantly regrew. Regeneration? Well, I guess that is one of the things I need to still find a way to get. It was ultimately what gave Hashirama and Naruto the edge against Madara and Sasuke. Who are you? How can you access this dimension, and where is Otsutsuki Kagaya? Momoshiki asked, now his voice getting more serious. I didn't really give them an answer, and the wind around me picked up, and because of this my hair started moving a bit, and now they were finally able to see the Dojutsu in my left eye. Oh, Rinnegan, huh? I guess that explains how you're here. But what of Otsutsuki Kagaya? Where is she? Are you one of her descendants? Momoshiki asked. You don't know. She is no longer here, I said. It wasn't far from the truth. She wasn't dead but sealed, and they didn't need to know that. If they somehow unseal her, and we have to fight all three of them at the same time, that might be a problem. Kinshiki again came to attack me with a burst of speed using his weapon. I was able to defend the first few attacks, but then suddenly he put a lot more strength into one of his attacks, and as I tried to deflect it with my sword, it was cut in half. I quickly used Shinra Tensei to put some distance between me and him. Momoshiki then put his hand on the ground, and huge chakra avatars appeared from the ground and headed straight towards me. It was very quick, but I was able to easily track it with my Sharingan and Rinnegan, and I could have dodged, but I let myself be caught. Seeing that I was caught, Momoshiki said, well, I had expected you to give me more of a challenge, but I guess not. He then sent some sort of a fire-style jutsu through the chakra avatar, but just as it was about to hit me, I again used a Menetejakara on Kinshiki, and he took the full force of the jutsu. After a few seconds, when all the smoke finally vanished, Kinshiki could be seen where the chakra avatars were, and Momoshiki was shocked, so he had clearly not seen me switch places with Kinshiki. Kinshiki had again lost an arm, and his whole body was burnt. I guess his fire style is stronger than even mine. None of my fire style jutsus would have done something like that to Kinshiki. A few seconds later, Kinshiki's burns healed, and his arm was again regenerated. I can still fight the two of them, but it's a risk that isn't worth it. Kinshiki has some sort of regeneration that he didn't originally have, and this Momoshiki also looks a bit stronger than the original. In the show he needed to fuse with Kinshiki to use that, but here he didn't, and I still don't know what to do about the karma. So it's better I leave. I have what I came for, it's time to get out now. I then quickly made a portal right next to me, and left before either of them could follow me. I then arrived somewhere in one of the training grounds in Konoha, and it was currently the evening. I then tried to sense Naruto's chakra and felt it both in the Hokage's office and his house. I realized that the one at his house was a clone, but I decided to go there anyway since I did want to meet Boruto. After a few minutes of walking, I got to Naruto's house, and during my walk I felt his shadow clone pop. I knocked on there after I arrived, and as soon as I did, I heard a voice scream from inside. So you have finally decided to come home, stupid old man. As soon as the door opened, Boruto threw a punch at me, but I saw it coming and easily blocked it. Boruto was a bit shocked that it wasn't his dad, but someone else, so he instantly apologized. So you're Naruto's son, what's your name? I asked. Uzumaki Boruto, he said, still a bit shocked. The lights then turned on, and Hinata came out and said, Boruto, who is it? But then after looking at me, she said, Sasuke-kun, is that you? I had never in my life interacted with her, so I didn't really know how to address her, so I simply said, is Naruto home? He should still be at the Hokage's office, he isn't back yet, she replied. Sorry to disturb you then, I said, and I was about to walk away. But Boruto also tried to run to the Hokage's office, but since his mother was against it, so I stopped him and then started going towards the Hokage's office. But I already knew Boruto will eventually come there, and that's when he will ask me to be my student. After I left Naruto's house, I started going towards the Hokage's office, and on my way to that, right next to his house, I found his old jacket, and I assumed that Boruto must have thrown it out. After arriving at the Hokage's office, I saw that the door was already open, and Naruto and Shikamaru had been talking about something. So as soon as I entered, I stopped suppressing my chakra, which should have alerted them of my presence, and I then threw the scroll, which I found in Kagaya's palace, at him. After coming back to this dimension, I did try reading it with my Rinnegan, but I couldn't. I obviously could have lied or wrote a fake scroll about what I found, and could have given it to him, but I remembered that the whereabouts of where Momoshiki and Kinshiki take Naruto are in this scroll, so I needed it deciphered just in case. Catching the scroll, Naruto looked at me and said, "Sasuke, you're back. You said it might take a few days before you come back." Yeah, I found Kagaya's palace sooner than expected. I got that scroll there. Naruto then opened the scroll, and after a few seconds he said, "I see." Shikamaru, feeling left out, asked, "So what does it say?" "I don't know," Naruto said with a smile. "Don't bother, even I can't read it even with my Rinnegan. Give it to the Siffer Corps. They might be able to find something out." Naruto and Shikamaru both nodded at this, and Shikamaru then said, "Sasuke, you said Kagaya's palace, right? Did you encounter any trouble when you retrieved the scroll? How about I show the two of you what happened?" I said, and both of them instantly agreed. So I activated my Mangekyo Sharingan and put both of them in a Genjutsu and showed them the fight through my memories. Soon after the fight was over and I dropped the Genjutsu, Shikamaru looked very much shocked, and Naruto was also shocked, but not as much as Shikamaru. "Naruto, I'm not going to lie to you. Me and you might be the only two people who might actually stand a chance at doing anything to this Otsutsuki, Kinshiki and that other guy, and I feel that other guy is also stronger than Kagaya. No offense, but I seriously doubt even the other Kage will be of any help." I said, "You're underestimating the Kage, you know they aren't weak." Naruto said, "Well, not exactly, Naruto. I do think what Sasuke is saying is true. You and Sasuke are pretty relative in speed, and no else currently alive can exactly match you, the two of you in that department, or even hope to be able to react to stop your attacks at that speed, and that guy was almost able to match Sasuke's speed, and he was pretty much as good as Sasuke with a weapon and physically more stronger than anyone I have seen, and the jutsu the other guy used had elements of wood style in it, and he didn't appear to feel threatened or even try to interfere in Sasuke's fight with this Otsutsuki Kinshiki guy. And I feel at the very least he is stronger than this Otsutsuki Kinshiki guy. And this Otsutsuki Kinshiki did lose his hand 2 times, but it was also pretty much instantly regenerated both times." Shikamaru said, "All of us remained quiet for a few seconds, and Naruto then said, "So how exactly are we meant to beat this guy if he can pretty much regenerate his arm, even getting it cut in half? Every person has a weakness. A Chibaku Tensei should seal him away, or a Chidori through his heart might also work. No matter how strong his regeneration is, if his heart is destroyed he shouldn't live, and even if that doesn't work, I can use my Rinnegan's human path and take his soul out, and that should definitely work, and I'm sure we will be able to take the other guy out if we go all out." I said, "Alright, I guess I'll also start training again. It's been a while since I have trained." Naruto said. I then gave him his old jacket which I found in front of his house. Before he could say anything I said, "I found it near your house in the street." I then left the Hokage's office, and just as I was leaving I saw Boruto arrive. "Sasuke-san, did you meet my dad?" Boruto asked as he saw me. "My business with him is over." "I-see. You wanted to beat up Naruto, right?" "Yeah," Boruto said confidently. He then continued and ran towards me and said, "If you're going to interfere, I'm not going to hold back, UKN dash." Just as he neared me I simply kicked him and sent him a few places back. "What the hell, I didn't even see him coming," Boruto thought. "You will never be able to even get near him like that," I said. "Let's do this," Boruto said, and made 3 clones and sent them to attack me. I easily dodged all their attacks and destroyed the clones, and then held Boruto and said, "See, now you know the level of your abilities. Go home before you get hurt," I said, and dropped him. "You're awesome," he said, looking at me with stars in his eyes. He then continued, "Sasuke-san, please make me your student." "I'm not fit to be a teacher," I said. "Please, I have to get back at my father no matter what it takes." "Why would you go so far to rebel against your dad?" I asked. "He broke our man-to-man promise. He sent a shadow clone to my sister's birthday." I very well could have argued, but I decided against it. This kid truly had a lot of potential. When I was his age I was just slightly a bit stronger than him, but I had to train every day after the massacre for that, and this guy barely ever trained. If he had someone to train him early on he would have been a lot more stronger now. "Can you do the Rasengan?" I asked. His vanishing Rasengan was very helpful against Momoshiki, and it would be a jutsu that helped him a lot, so I didn't want to do something in which he wouldn't create it. He stood quiet for a few seconds, so I said, "You can't." "Well, then you can't be my student, learn the Rasengan, and I will take you as my student." He was disappointed for a second, but as soon as I said I will take him as my student, if he learnt the Rasengan, he was very happy, said, "Alright, I will go master it right away," and he then ran the other way. I need to get a new sword soon before they attack again. I really doubt any of the Kage can beat Kinshiki now, so it most likely will be me and Naruto against both of them. Well, there is still some time left before they come, so I guess I can think about getting a sword tomorrow. "In home," I said as I knocked the door and Sarada opened it. "Huh, Dad, you're back." "I thought you said you will be gone for a few days," Sarada asked. Sarada, who is Sakura, said as she came out of the room. "Sasuke-kun, you're back. My work got over quickly, so yes, I'm back." Both of them were happy as soon as I said this. "Well, if the two of you have yet to have dinner, how about we go out for dinner tonight?" "Really?" Sarada asked, clearly very happy with what I had said, and I simply nodded, and she quickly left to get changed, I presumed. I really didn't know how to be a good husband or a good father, mainly because even in my past life, I didn't have a girlfriend, and I definitely did not have a kid in my past life, and Sasuke barely had interacted with Sakura and Sarada all that much before I took over his body, so I had been putting off spending any sort of family time with them. But I knew I will eventually have to do it. "Sasuke-kun, are you alright? You have spent a decent amount of chakra?" Sakura asked worriedly. I simply nodded and said, "Well, my investigation led me to a few interesting things." Sakura looked a bit confused and didn't understand what I meant, so I activated my Sharingan and showed her my fight with the Otsutsuki. She was clearly shocked by what she saw and said, "This is terrible. Will there be another war now?" "Well, you never know, but we will eventually have to fight them again. I believe they are here to finish what Kagaya came here to do. Harvest the planet of its chakra, and for that they first need the tailed beast to use the 10 tails again, and for that they will need Naruto's 9 tails, so they will have to eventually come here again. We just have to be prepared in time," I said. I was currently walking towards Orochimaru's hideout. Sasuke had lost the first Kusanagi Orochimaru had given him during the 4th Shinobi World War, so after the war Orochimaru had given him another variant of the Kusanagi which he had. As I arrived near the hideout, I was greeted by Yamato and a few other Leaf Shinobi. "Sasuke-san, we were not told that you will be arriving here. We are sorry, but we have been given orders by the Hokage and his assistant that no shall be allowed to see Orochimaru without permission," Yamato said as the other shinobi stood behind him. I was obviously could have sneaked past them without getting noticed. But before I came here, I did talk to Naruto about why I was here, and he had given a permission slip permitting me to meet Orochimaru. I pulled out the slip and gave it to Yamato, and he read it and said, "Allow him to pass." And as he said this, all of them moved out of the way. As soon as I walked in, the first people I saw were Jugo and Sujetsu. "It's been a while," Sasuke Sujetsu said. "Where is Orochimaru?" I asked. "Come with me, I will take you to him," Jugo said and started walking. After walking for a bit, we finally arrived where the Snake Sanin was. "What brings you here, Sasuke-kun?" he asked as soon as he saw me. "I fought someone last night, and my sword was destroyed. I was wondering if you have any more Kusanagis to spare." "But that shouldn't be possible. A Kusanagi is an unbreakable sword," Orochimaru said. As he said this, I pulled out my sword from the sword holder, or whatever was left of my sword. Now I only had the hilt of the sword and a small part of steel still attached to it. Orochimaru looked shocked as he saw the condition of the sword and said, "But how, who did this?" The only people who knew about the Otsutsukis were Team 7, the 5 Kage, and a few select individuals, and although Orochimaru was not a part of these select individuals, I knew he would have found out, so there was no point in hiding it from him. "I fought an Otsutsuki," I said. "I see. Well, they might be the only people who might be able to destroy the Kusanagi. I'm sorry, Sasuke-kun, but I can't help you. I don't have any more Kusanagis. Every one of them is now destroyed." "Every one of them is now destroyed?" I asked. "Well, there were 3 Kusanagas in total. Well, 4, if we count the Totsuka blade, a variant of the Kusanagi blade. I gave of them to you, and my own is also gone." "What happened to yours?" I asked. "Well, as you know, I used to store mine inside my body, and you decided to be kind enough and kill me, and the sword is now stuck inside that body, and I have no idea what has happened to that body," Orochimaru sarcastically said. I simply sighed and didn't know what to do now. I very well can just go buy a normal sword. but you can't send elemental chakra into a normal sword, and I used lightning chakra in my blade while fighting. Well, there is one option, Orochimaru said. What? You could go to the Land of Iron and have a blade forged. There's no point of forging a normal blade, I said. No, that's not what I meant, come with me, he said, and started walking, and I followed him. Soon we arrived towards the rear of the hideout, and I saw a rock there, and he picked it up and gave it to me. How will this help? I asked. Sure you remember a few years age meteors were falling on Konoha, and I'm pretty sure you were the one who destroyed them. I just happened to be in Konoha that day, and a small amount of the destroyed meteor fell right in front of my foot, so I decided to take it with me, and one day during a few experiments the idiot standing behind you ended up melting a small amount of that rock, and we got this. He then pulled out some sort of a metal. It wasn't too long or anything, just a small piece. As he gave it to me and I held it, I could tell this was insanely strong, even more strong than the Kusanagi. But how? No genius in science like you. But I know melting a meteor doesn't give you a metal. Hell, I doubt you can even melt a meteor. You're right in that, but you're wrong in assuming that this is meteor. This rock is some sort of a metal, not a meteor. What? I asked, still not believing anything he was saying. We only know so much about the world, Sasuke. We still have a lot to learn. This is some sort of a metal, not sure what, but it's a metal. And it's stronger than anything I have seen. Now I'm no expert in melting stuff and forging a sword, but the people of the Land of Iron are. And that rock should be enough to forge one sword. Thank you, Orochimaru, I said. Well, growing softer we Sasuke-kun. HN. I then sealed the rock into a sealing scroll which I carried with me and then left. I obviously wanted to instantly go to the Land of Iron to get my sword forged, but I could not leave for Atlas 3 days because apparently a video conference Cage Summit was called, and I was also forced to attend it since it was about the Otsutsukis and I am the one who fought them recently, so Shikamaru thought it would be good if I attended. I had not told anyone else about the meteor/rock since I first wanted to investigate what it really was and find out before telling anyone about this new type of metal. It was as if this metal was perfectly suited for a swordsman with a lightning chakra nature, and I just happened to be the strongest lightning style user. I had sent lightning chakra through the metal just to test it out, and it was as if the metal was increasing the strength of my lightning style. In the end, I ended up waiting for 2 more days before I was finally given permission to go to Land of the Iron. Just as I was about to leave the village, I heard someone shout, "Sasuke-san." I turned back to see who it was. Right, how the hell did I forget about this kid? I guess he would finally learnt the Rasengan, I thought, looking at the blonde-haired kid running towards me. "What is it, Boruto?" I asked. He didn't say anything, but simply stood in front of me and created a Rasengan. It was obviously very small, just like in the anime. I was currently thinking whether I should take him as my student, or have him run away disappointed like in the anime and have him embarrass himself by cheating. Very well, you can be my student. As I said that, Boruto was clearly very happy. I did was to make sure that he had added his lightning style into the Rasengan, so I said, "Boruto, throw your Rasengan towards that tree." Boruto looked a bit confused on why I was asking that, but did it anyway, and after he threw it, the Rasengan disappeared and he looked down disappointed, but I still kept looking in that direction, and a few meters ahead, the Rasengan appeared again and hit the tree. Boruto heard the sound, but he hadn't seen what caused it, so he suddenly looked up and said, what was that?" "Well done, you did something even the 4th Hokage and the 6th Hokage failed to do." Boruto didn't really understand what I meant, so I decided to elaborate. "When your grandfather created the Rasengan, he did it with the intent to eventually add his chakra nature to the jutsu, but he failed, and later on his student Kakashi also tried, but even he failed. But looks like you succeeded in that. You unconsciously added lightning style to the jutsu and created a whole another jutsu of vanishing Rasengan." As I said this, Boruto was clearly very proud of himself. I then continued, "Anyway, I won't be in the village for a few days. I have somewhere to go. In the meantime, try and perfect your Rasengan by adding more chakra to it. It's awfully small at the moment." Boruto then nodded and I turned around to leave. But he said, "Ni Sasuke-san, when a sensei is outside the village, don't they take their students with them to train?" What he said was something that was true. It happened with Jiraiya and Naruto, and it also happened with Sasuke and Orochimaru. From my memories, I could tell that Orochimaru traveled a lot, and since Sasuke was his student, he would go with him, and Orochimaru would train him when they were taking breaks while traveling. Well, I doubt either of your parents would exactly be okay with you going out of the village with me at the moment, I said, trying to dismiss him. Well, give me a minute, I will inform my mom and be back in a few minutes, I'm sure she won't mind. Boruto said and ran off. Well, I could just leave before he comes, and I'd just be like I was running late, and I had to go, but it will be useful for him if he does come with me, I guess. About 10 minutes later, Boruto came back with a bag. I didn't really expect Hinata or Naruto to allow this, but here he was anyway. The fact that he could have snuck out of the house did come to my mind, but Hinata had a Byakugan, so I doubted this kid would have been able to sneak out. But I really didn't want to get in trouble with Naruto for taking him with me if the kid had sneaked out, so I quickly wrote a letter and summoned a hawk and sent it to Naruto to inform him that Boruto was with me. We walked for a few minutes, and we were now somewhere in the forest in the outskirts of Konoha, and I stopped walking. Sasuke-san, what's wrong? Boruto asked, looking at me. Well, this should be far enough to not cause any alarms, I said, and went through the signs for the summoning jutsu, and summoned a huge bird using the Anime path. My original plan was to use one of my hawks and fly to the Land of Iron on them, but it wouldn't be safe to travel with two people on a hawk, so I decided to use one of the summons I rarely use. I obviously could have just used my time-space jutsu to travel to the Land of Iron, but I didn't want to unnecessarily waste chakra on that jutsu. Looking back at Boruto, I saw that he was a bit terrified of what he just saw. This is one of my summons. We are going to the Land of Iron and it will take almost a day and a half if we walk, so we are going to be traveling on top of my summon. As I said this, he calmed down a bit and asked if we were going to fly on him. Why did we have to walk all the way here? If I summoned him in the village, people would have been scared seeing a huge bird, and there would have been panic all around the village. Anyway, get on. It took a few hours, but we finally arrived at the Land of Iron. I had the bird land a few minutes away from the Land of Iron since I didn't want the samurai to panic by seeing a huge bird in the sky and try to bring it down, thinking we were attacking them. After my probation was over, I was given special rights to be able to enter a lot of lands unannounced. Since I was investigating the Otsutsukis, during that time there were two countries that didn't give me such rights, the Land of Earth and the Land of Iron. The Land of Earth didn't give me any rights, since the new Tsuchikage Kuretsuchi hated me, and was the only Kage who still wanted me executed. The Land of Iron was still a neutral land, and only housed samurai, while Mifune didn't want me executed. He wasn't the biggest fan of me, and I wasn't really surprised since I had killed a good amount of samurai. After we arrived near the gates of the Land of Iron, I saw the leader of the country, General Mifune, already waiting for me along with a few samurai. I wasn't really shocked by this, rather I was hoping he would be here by the time me and Boruto got here, since I can't actually enter without permission. Although there aren't shinobi here, there are censors, and that is why I flared my chakra a few times after landing and hoped one of the censors would notify Mifune about my presence. When me and Boruto were a few meters away from the samurai and Mifune, we finally came to a halt. I never actually thought I would ever see you here again, Sasuke Uchiha, Mifune said. Even I never thought I would be back here until a few days back. I said, any reason for the kid to be traveling with you? Mifune asked. This is Boruto Uzumaki, son of the 7th Hokage Naruto Uzumaki, and he happens to be my student. I see, but why are you here, Sasuke? I was hoping to get a sword forged for myself, since my previous sword was recently destroyed. But why come all the way here to forge a sword? I'm sure there are blacksmiths in Konoha who will know how to forge a sword. The blacksmiths in the Land of Iron are best, or so I have heard. Mifune was quiet for a few seconds, but then said, very well, I hope you and your student enjoy your stay in the Land of Iron. Me and Boruto then entered the village, and we were heading towards an inn, but Boruto suddenly said, none of them look like ninjas. They aren't ninjas, they are samurais. The system of shinobi doesn't exist here. Boruto stayed quiet for a few seconds, but then said in a low voice, they don't seem to like you all that much here. I thought of what to tell him for a few seconds, and then said, when I was younger I killed a few samurai the last time I was here. I obviously could have said something else, but most people knew the time when I had attacked the 5 Kage summit, and I was pretty sure that he will find that out in the future, so there was no point in lying. After we got to the inn, I got 2 rooms, one for Boruto and one for myself. After keeping my things in my room, I went to Boruto's room and said, alright, let's go, we are going to start your training. Even though there were no ninja here, there were still training grounds, since the samurais would also need to train. After getting to the training grounds, I made a shadow clone. A shadow clone, Boruto said. Well, as I said, I have some work, so my shadow clone will be training you for today. You will be sparring with him for now, and you won't need to hold back, you can go all out, and after the spar is over, he will see where you can improve and start training you accordingly, and if you still have time after that you can focus on perfecting your Rasengan. I then left and headed towards the place where blacksmith shops were located, and they just happened to be in the other side of the village. As I was walking through the village, I noticed that pretty much 70% of the population hated me. I knew I was going to be hated over here because of what I did in the 5Cage summit, but I hadn't expected people to openly glare at me. As I entered the street where all the sword forging stores were, I realized that even here, most of them were straight up glaring at me and hoping I don't go to their store to have a weapon forged. And in the end I realized that there was only store in which the guy wasn't glaring at me, so I went there. "Welcome, sir. How may I help you?" the old man said. "I was hoping I could get a sword forged." "Well, sure thing, let me go get the steel, give me a second." "No, wait, I have a different type of metal I want the sword to be forged from." I then pulled out the summoning scroll and sent a bit of chakra, and the metal/rock was now out. Sorry sir, but I doubt I can melt a rock and forge a sword," the old man said. "This isn't just some sort of rock, why don't you melt a small part of it and take a look?" The man clearly didn't trust what I was saying, but he did it anyway. He cut a small part of the rock and put in a bucket of lava, and the thing soon changed into a metal, shocking the person. He then removed it to have a good look at it. "Just what is this rock? I have never seen a metal this strong and light at the same time." "Not completely sure, all I know is that it is strong, and it will make a good sword." "Well, you're right on that, but it will take some time to forge a sword with this. I will have to melt the rock in small parts and then put it together. It will take a day for me to fully forge the sword." "That's fine, take your time. I'll get started right away. Do you have any ideas on how you want the hilt of the sword to be, or would you be fine with a normal hilt?" "I do have a pretty good idea." As I said this, the man gave me a paper and some ink to draw the hilt. I had a lot of ideas on how I wanted it, but in the end I chose the one I liked the most and ended up drawing it. After the old man looked at my drawing, he said, "Well, that sure looks impressive." "Yes, will the sword be ready by tomorrow?" I asked. "Yes, I will have it done by the afternoon, you can stop by then." "Very well." I then paid the man his advance and left, but not before I summoned a small snake to keep an eye on the man, just in case he tried running away with the metal, since I could not let some random person have something like this. And that, guys, conclude this episode of What If I Transmigrated as Sasuke Uchiha before Momoshiki attack, becoming the new Shadow Hokage. If you enjoyed this What If and want to see more of my videos, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. And for me, guys, give this one a big thumbs up, share it with your friends, and comment your thoughts and reactions down below. See you in the next one. Omnisynsei signing out.